Right, so this is actually big news. Duco Events, the team behind Joseph Parker, has announced Joseph Parker will face Carlos Takam in May 2016. The winner will be the IBF Heavyweight Mandatory Challenger for the IBF Heavyweight title. At present, that title is being contested between Anthony Joshua and Charles Martin. In a little promo video that was released by Duco, they included a clip of Joshua facing off with Charles Martin. And it's very, very likely that the winner of this fight, Takam versus Parker, Takam versus Parker, will face the winner of Charles Martin Joshua. Of course, it's not certain because one of those guys could lose the belt in a voluntary in between their fight and Parker's fight. But most likely we're looking at the winner of Joe Parker versus Carlos Takam against the winner of Anthony Joshua versus Charles Martin. But as I say, I don't believe that mandatory will be due until January 2017. That's what the IBF have said previously. So there is a chance that the Martin Joshua winner could get one, maybe even two voluntary defences in before facing the winner of Joe Parker Takam. Anyway, let's put that to a side. The news is that there is no venue announced as of yet. There is no official date announced as of yet. Team Parker, Team Takam are negotiating, and that will be very, very interesting to find out. Where is this fight going to take place? Is it going to take place in New Zealand? Is it going to take place in the United States? Where is the fight going to be held? And that's going to be a key factor for me. I'll be really interested to see when that is announced. I actually don't think it would be a bad thing for Joe Parker if he's got to fight away from home, if he's got to go to the States for the fight, even potentially if he's got to travel to Europe to meet with Carlos Takam. Getting that experience of going to someone's backyard or getting that experience of a big fight in America certainly adds another string to the bow of a young prospect, and I like it. I like it as a fight. I think it's a real step up for Joseph Parker. Carlos Takam, I've seen a few people online criticising Takam. I rate him very highly, actually. For those who saw my heavyweight rankings video that I did in January of this year, I think I put Carlos Takam either number 10 or number 11. And he's a real decent fighter who's underrated. If we look at his resume, 3 highlights from his resume, I guess the 3 fights he'd maybe be best known for are when he defeated Tony Thompson, and he defeated Tony Thompson well, actually. He outpointed Thompson, but with quite a bit in hand. Thompson was coming off relatively decent form. Thompson had 2 wins over David Price. Thompson had 2 wins over Olaner Solis, and Carlos Takam went and beat Tony Thompson. Carlos Takam drew with Mike Perez, and at the time Mike Perez was undefeated, very well thought of, excellent fighter. He lost to Alexander Povetkin, but he lost that fight in good fashion. Despite the fact he got knocked out which was eventually quite a bad knockout, halfway through the fight, I think it was round 8 before the fight was stopped, the judges had it fairly even, and Povetkin is a real good fighter, top class heavyweight, Olympic gold medalist himself. Carlos Takam was doing a good job boxing from range in that fight. And at spells, he was causing Povetkin problems, actually, with outside boxing. And I think that's one of the things I like about Takam. He actually brings a lot to the table. He's an orthodox fighter. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's not the most powerful guy in the world. I can see why he doesn't appeal necessarily to the casual fans who look for one-punch knockout power, amazing hand speed, a real aggressive style. But this guy brings a lot to the table. As I said, from the Povetkin fight, you can see that he can box from range. He's somebody who's got underrated boxing capability on the outside. But in the Tony Thompson fight, he showed versatility. Rather than box from range with Tony Thompson, he got in close. He took the reins away from Tony Thompson. He stifled him. He forced the action on him and put Thompson in his back foot for the entire fight. And so an excellent engine to do that. In the Mike Perez fight, he was getting outpointed by Mike Perez, but stayed on very, very strongly and basically clean swept the second half of the fight. And many felt Carlos Takam was unlucky in that fight. So my point is, Takam is an underrated fighter. You know, yes, he did get knocked out by Povetkin, but as Dwyer often says, knockouts cause amnesia, and people forget that he was doing real well in that fight. So it's a good opponent. It's an absolutely massive step up for Joseph Parker, this. I mean, Carlos Takam is leagues above the level of guy that Joseph Parker has been fighting recently. Carlos Takam would stop Jason Bergman. Carlos Takam would stop Daniel Martz. I would pick Takam over Jason Petway. I'd pick him over Bowie Tupu. I'd pick him over Cali Meehan at this stage of Meehan's career. This is the hardest fight of Joseph Parker's career. A win here definitely puts Joseph Parker in the top 10. Is it a risky fight? For me, I think it's the right level of fight for Parker to take at this stage. I actually think that a slightly better opponent may bring out better work from Joseph Parker. You know, he didn't look the best last time out. Potentially that's because he needed a bit of a break. Potentially it's because he was undermotivated up against yet another substandard opponent. Carlos Takam, I guess you could say he's a smaller guy than Parker height-wise. He's orthodox. He's not got amazing hand speed. He's not got brutal one-punch knockout power. In that sense, he's a kind of ABC type fighter. But what he does bring to the table, as I say, is that I'm not sure how Takam is going to approach this fight. Is he going to jab it out with Parker? Is he going to try and fight in the pocket? Is he going to try and put Parker on his back foot? You know, use his strength and experience to push Parker back and position him against the ropes and test him out that way. Yeah, it'll be real interesting. And Parker's going to have a big think about how he wants to approach this fight. If he wants to stand in the centre of the ring and have a scrap with Carlos Takam and throw power punches up close, Carlos Takam would probably be game for that kind of fight. So Parker's got to make a decision. Does he think he would be best served by moving, jabbing and trying to outbox Carlos Takam? Does he think he'd be best served by trying to maybe find and prove that he's got the more solid punching power by going to war with him? You know, does he want to fight on the inside? Does he want to fight on the outside? Interesting, real interesting. You know, Carlos Takam, as I say, he can box on the outside, but I think instinctively that is where Joseph Parker perhaps has the more natural advantages. He's the younger guy. He's certainly the more athletic guy. And whilst Carlos Takam is an underrated boxer, I think Joseph Parker may have the slight edge here. I think he may have the slight edge. He's got to keep his defences tighter. He's got to judge the angles, and the defence is a bit tighter than he did in the most recent fight against Jason Bergman. But whilst this is a tight fight, and whilst the upset here wouldn't surprise me, I do think on balance, at this early stage, I would be siding with Joseph Parker for the win. I just feel that whilst Carlos Takam is a very solid contender for the top 10, borderline top 10 is Carlos Takam's level. I don't think he's got the upside to go on to be a world champion, to be a top 5 fighter. I think he just comes up a bit short at that level. Whereas I think Joseph Parker, the talent he has, the raw abilities he has, maybe has the slight upside to go a step higher. This is an excellent learning fight for Joseph Parker. For me, it's the right kind of opponent at the right sort of time in his career. You know, Carlos Takam, maybe I'd have even had one fight in between. You know, somebody not quite as good as Takam, but, you know, so a step up, so we say, between a Jason Bergman and a Carlos Takam. But, you know, on balance, this isn't a bad fight. And whilst Joseph Parker is a younger guy, you know, maybe it is time to roll the dice. Maybe he needs to start moving his career in this upwards trajectory. So I'm looking forward to it. Carlos Takam, he's a dangerous guy. He's got different strings to his bow with the styles he can fight. I do just feel Joseph Parker has slightly more boxing class, but he'll have to improve, and it will be a career best performance to beat Carlos Takam. Boxing skills, movement, athleticism and discipline. If he puts all of those together, he can win. If he wins, he definitely becomes a top 10 heavyweight in my rankings anyway. And, you know, it sets us up for a hugely exciting time in boxing. Joseph Parker potentially to face Charles Martin, Anthony Joshua winner. Let me know your thoughts. What do you make of Carlos Takam as the opponent? How do you see this fight going? How much of a risk is Carlos Takam? If you've enjoyed this video, please click the thumbs up. Certainly hit the subscribe button. Wouldn't want you to miss out any of the other videos that I do on the lead up to this fight. Many thanks for watching.